What's your sense of it, Brace?
I found it very vague, and once I sort of looked into the details of this, and just in the details of how this process works, not just in this specific case, but in the cases overall, I did notice that there were some things emphasized and some things either absent or totally de-emphasized, like the human trafficking angle. Like that it sort of starts saying about, it's talking about this really shocking proposition, right? My parents were accused of human trafficking. And of course, that's ridiculous. And I mean, when you actually get into the details of how these schemes work, I mean, you can make the case that it's human trafficking. Absolutely. I mean, more specifically, I would think you would call it labor trafficking. But it's some of the other details that aren't even necessarily illegal that I found a little troubling. And again, or extremely troubling, I should say.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
And so, when I first read this post, I had not read any articles about, this specific case. I knew generally how these things worked. And so I immediately had my suspicions. And, it's I hate to be a when there's smoke, there's fire guy. But sometimes the smoke is there's enough of it, right? To where that something must maybe be going on.
Well, I think what was so weird just from the blog post is, and we're going to get into this, toward the end of the episode, but basically she posted this and, and I should say this is how she ends the piece. No matter how many ways I tell them how grateful I am for the bone deep familiarity with injustice that I acquired through watching what happened to them. Their case solidified my ethical commitments. It clarified my understanding of power, of truth, and complication. I learned from their life trajectory as I had to, and I hope one day under a different administration that I get the chance to report it all out. So, there's this very odd angle that she takes where she is somehow the victim in this situation.
Well, of scandalous rumor mongering.
Yes.
Which is technically a capital crime in places like Singapore.
But I think what was really shocking and what really ended up catching even more ire than even her initial blog post was the insane response that it received from what I think we could call the first responders of Twitter media.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, it was an atom bomb of love and adoration, and this is so terrible. I'm sorry that people are such meanies. And I think that is, like you said, more than the blog post, or not equally to the blog post itself, just blew my fucking mind. Because
yeah, the amount of fist pump emojis and we got this and oh my God, I'm so sorry for everything you've had to endure, et cetera, love and solidarity that came from what is now people who kind of call them out as the blue check mafia or whatever we want to call them on Twitter. Where proffering was just I couldn't believe it. I have never seen that. Was the most that was the most solid form of solidarity that I've seen in a decade.
Jeffrey